This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday, the 22nd day of March in the year 2024. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The government of Guyana today expressed its great concern over the adoption of a law by the Venezuelan National Assembly declaring the Essequibo region of Guyana, which constitutes more than two-thirds of the country's national territory, to be part of Venezuela. The move by Venezuela comes 3 months after Venezuelans voted in a referendum to officially make the Essequibo region part of Venezuela. The move will see the adjustment of the Venezuelan map to include Guyana's Essequibo region. It also follows the Argyle Declaration agreed to by President Irfinali and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. In a statement, the Ministry of Home Affairs said the latest move by Venezuela is a flagrant violation of Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity and is in breach of the fundamental principles of international law enriched in the United Nations Charter. The Foreign Ministry also described the new Venezuelan law as an egregious violation of the Order of Provisional Measures issued by the International Court of Justice on December 1, 2023, and it is a violation of the Argyle Declaration of December 14, 2023, agreed to by the leaders of CARICOM and Brazil, the representatives of the United Nations Secretary General, and the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela. At the opening of the Regional Security Council of Ministers meeting at the Ramada Georgetown Princess Hotel, Minister of Home Affairs Rupson Ben condemned the actions of Venezuela.
We in Guyana deplore the avoidance of the Argyle Declaration, which was made, where the two principal parties, under the supervision and discussion of members of CARICOM and abroad, made representations that neither party will do anything which will make the situation worse. We deplore, we are unhappy that the government of Venezuela and its National Assembly just yesterday agreed that they will make Essequibo formally no longer a zone in reclamation, but Venezuelan territory. This is highly regrettable, and it is in violation of the principles of the good faith discussions which were undertaken at Argyle and more latterly in Brazil.
Back in November, tempers flared and a war of words between the two nations erupted following Venezuela's attempt to include Guyana's territory as part of its own. Venezuela has also been increasing its military presence along the bordering region with Guyana, although Guyanese were told that the build-up is nothing to worry about. The government today made it clear that Guyana remains committed to peace on its borders and in the region and will not allow its territory and territorial integrity to be usurped. The Ghana government also promised that it will exert all of its efforts under international law to ensure that its sovereignty and territorial integrity remain intact. In the statement issued, the Guyanese government called on the international community to uphold the rule of law by rejecting Venezuela's illegal expansionism and by insisting that Venezuela refer to the International Court of Justice, which has before it the case for a full and final resolution on the controversy over the land border between the two countries. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
In our search for sophistication and grace, the Super Stylistics team invites you to be part of something extraordinary. Mothers and daughters who possess aura and presence that transcend through time. Step forward and become part of the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024. Join our legacy as we redefine elegance for generations to come. The search for the epitome of timeless love begins now. Call 226-2825 or 626-0460 to secure your spot in the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024.
Opposition Member of Parliament with responsibility for Foreign Affairs, Amanza Walton Desir, has written to Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hugh Todd, calling for the urgent convening of the Parliamentary Sectorial Committee on Foreign Relations in wake of Venezuela's purported creation of a new state in Ghana's Essequibo. In a statement this afternoon, Walton Desir described the latest development in Caracas as extremely troubling, declaring it as a clear breach of the Argyle Declaration, as well as the ruling of the International Court of Justice (ICJ), which had unanimously ruled that Venezuela should refrain from taking any action which would interfere with Ghana's administration of the Essequibo region, and that both parties should refrain from any action which might aggravate or extend the dispute currently before the court. MP Walton Desir reminded that she wrote to the foreign minister back in February requesting that the committee be convened in order to receive official updates on the reports on the buildup of Venezuelan troops on the border. She said there was never any response to her request. The opposition member of parliament said she's concerned that the failure of the government to share information with the parliamentary opposition in a timely manner undermines the ability to provide critical support on this national issue. The Parliamentary Sectorial Committee on Foreign Relations last met on November 21, 2023. In a closely guarded visit to Guyana that lasted a few hours on Thursday, the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, Williams J. Burns, met with President Irfaan Ali and top Guyana security officials. The visit to Guyana was secretive, as there were no announcements of the visit before the CIA director arrived, and information and photographs of his visit were only released by the president's office after his departure. The meeting between President Ali and the CIA director took place at State House, with the president's office describing it as a courtesy visit. News source, however, understands that a number of security and other intelligence matters related to Guyana and the Caribbean and Latin America region were raised and discussed at the meeting. President Irfaan Ali's team at the meeting included Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, Attorney General Anil Nandlal, Home Affairs Minister Rupson Ben, Chief of Staff of the Ghana Defense Force Brigadier Omar Khan, Head of the National Intelligence Colonel Sheldon Howell, Acting Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken, and Director of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit James Singh. The CIA director was accompanied to the meeting by U.S. Ambassador Nicole Terrio and other senior embassy and U.S. government officials. The government is tight-lipped about the meeting and has not released any details surrounding the issues that were discussed. Earlier this week, the U.S. government, through its local embassy, signed an agreement with the Ghana government investment, making an additional US $300,000 available to Guyana under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative to combat a number of security challenges, including the trafficking of narcotics.
Mobil Delvac Heavy Duty Lubricants. With more than 90 years of experience and innovation, Mobil Delvac is a recognized leader in advanced heavy-duty lubricants. Discover how the state-of-the-art Mobil Delvac technology can help protect and extend the life of your diesel engines. Mobil Delvac, the trusted brand for many successful businesses. Protect your fleet and keep your vehicles on the road and out of the shop. Helped by Mobil Motor Oils. Distributed by Sol Guyana Inc.
At the most critical life-changing moments, the National Insurance Scheme is here to ensure that your needs are covered. Access reimbursement for medical expenses for various aspects of your medical care. We know that eye care is of utmost importance. Receive assistance with our Spectacle Care voucher. Visiting the dentist? Dental care is also covered under our sickness benefit services. Offset the funeral expenses of a loved one with costs covered by our funeral benefits. National Insurance Scheme. We're there every step of the way.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo. From its pristine rivers to its abundant resources, it's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
In January this year, the government made a decision that the Ministry of Education would only engage in negotiations with the Ghana Teachers Union, GTU, on a fresh multi-year agreement starting 2024, according to the Chief Education Officer, Saddam Hussein. He made that revelation today while being cross-examined for a third consecutive day in the case brought against the government by GTU over the issue of collective bargaining. On their questioning by Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford, who is representing the Ghana Trades Union Congress in the matter, the Chief Education Officer said while the decision was taken in January, it was not until March 7, 2024 that the position was made public. It was submitted by the senior counsel and agreed by Hussein that the government's position was communicated to the public by him in a press statement on the night of March 7, 2024, 3 hours after the Ministry of Education had published a statement indicating that the two sides had met the very day, and that the salary matters included in the union's multi-year proposal would be among issues to be discussed during their next meeting on March 12, 2024. The March 7 meeting was the first meeting that stemmed from the agreement reached between the union and the Ministry of Education on March 4 during the court-ordered mediation process. As he continued to grill the Chief Education Officer, Senior Counsel Ford turned the court's attention to the 41 items that the government said the union had proposed, of which 30 items were reportedly acted upon. After grilling Hussein on each item, Senior Counsel Ford submitted to the court that of the 41 items listed, 14 of them were imposed unilaterally by the government and did not reflect the proposals made by the union in its multi-year proposal. 9 of them were acted upon in accordance with the union's request, and another 9 had not been acted upon, while 1 was being worked out. Zooming in on the 9 items that were acted upon in accordance with the union's request, the senior counsel submitted to the chief education officer that they were only acted upon between November and December 2023, and that there was no agreement signed between the two sides or formal communication made with the union, indicating that the 9 items were being implemented. In response, Hussein told the court that he could not recall the period of implementation, but agreed that there was no agreement or formal communication on the implementation of the 9 items. He said it was his understanding that an agreement would only be signed upon the conclusion of negotiation on the proposed multi-year agreement. Throughout his 3 days of testimony, Hussein did not point the court to any document that would confirm that negotiations started and ended on specified days before the decision was taken to only negotiate a new multi-year agreement starting 2024. Outside of the courtroom, Senior Counsel Ford told reporters that the cross-examination proved that the government did not engage the union on collective bargaining.
The cross-examination today and yesterday was intended to decimate the government's propositions. Firstly, that they had engaged in collective bargaining. Secondly, it was the intention to establish that the Chief Labour Officer and the Ministry of Labour were complicit in ensuring that a scheme is fabricated to deny the Guyana Teachers Union and their workers and members the right to conciliation and the right to collective bargaining. We also wanted to establish that throughout this process, that it was the government that was acting repeatedly in bad faith. We were able to establish that at least since January 2024, the government had a decision made that they were not going to engage in any collective bargaining for any increase in salary for the period 2019-2024.
The case has been adjourned to April 10, when it is expected that attorneys from both sides will make their oral submissions. The Attorney General Anil Nanlal, the respondent in the matter, is representing the state, along with a battery of lawyers, including King's Counsel Darshan Ramdani. Leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, has announced that the opposition has informed the United Nations about the misinformation and untruths that were told to the UN Human Rights Committee by the Guyana government as the country underwent its periodic review on human rights this week. At a press conference on Thursday, Mr. Norton said even as the Minister of Governance, Gail Teixeira, was appearing before the Human Rights Committee this week, the opposition was in contact with the UN office here.
Well, we have been in communication with the UN here, and even when this started and they started to misinform the UN, we dispatched information to the UN res rep here, indicating, asking for onward transmission, of course, indicating that a lot of what she was saying, this is Minister Teixeira, was kind of distant from the truth.
The opposition leader said Minister Teixeira, in her appearance, misinformed the Human Rights Committee on a number of issues, particularly as it relates to the establishment of constitutional bodies and the appointment of a substantive chancellor and chief justice.
It must be recalled that the opposition not only agreed to their appointment, but also wrote President Irfan Ali requesting that we meet to consider these appointments. The president arrogantly responded that it is he who will determine when these processes will occur, and to this date, he has not seen it fit to initiate the process. It is therefore disingenuous and wicked on the part of Gail Teixeira to suggest that the opposition is responsible in any fashion for the non-appointment of these two distinguished ladies and the identification of opposition representatives on commissions and state boards. The PPP has refused to make these appointments, and in the case of the appointment of the opposition representative on the investment committee of the Natural Resource Fund, Even though the opposition submitted a nominee, the PPP until today has not appointed that nominee to the board.
He said the opposition has also submitted its nominations for the Constitutional Reform Commission. According to the opposition leader, the UN Human Rights Committee hearings have exposed the prevalence of human rights abuses and bad governance in Guyana under the People's Progressive Party civic administration.
Despite Minister Gail Teixeira's efforts at spin doctoring, evading and fabricating, the government could not hide its bad attitude and poor record on the rule of law, transparency, inclusivity, accountability, and human rights. In addition, the government was exposed for its high levels of corruption and its unwillingness to investigate allegations of corruption and bribery against its high officials.
The UN committee, he said, must be commended for interrogating several major acts of PPP bad governance and corruption, citing the corruption allegations that were made against Vice President Barrett Jagdeo, the discrimination in the allocation of state resources, the politicization of state institutions such as the Guyana Police Force, the non-appointment of opposition representatives to state boards, and the failure to revise the Amerindian Act.
In our search for sophistication and grace, the Super Stylistics team invites you to be part of something extraordinary. Mothers and daughters who possess aura and presence that transcend through time. Step forward and become part of the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024. Join our legacy as we redefine elegance for generations to come. The search for the epitome of timeless love begins now. Call 226-2825 or 626-0460 to secure your spot in the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids, or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
And now for your regional and international news. In the region, almost half of Haiti's people are struggling to feed themselves as gang violence spreads across the country, with several areas close to famine, international organizations said on Friday. Reuters in a report said inflation and poor harvests have also helped push Haiti to its worst levels of food insecurity on record. Rising hunger is fueling the security crisis that is shattering the country, the World Food Programme's Haiti director said. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, an organization which sets a scale used by the United Nations and governments to assess hunger, said in a report that about 4.97 million people out of a population of about 11.5 million were facing crisis or worse levels of food insecurity. 8 areas were now assessed to be in an emergency phase, the worst level before famine, it said. CMC in a report said St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has indicated that he will fight the World Bank's International Development Association IDA over a proposal that Caribbean countries pay higher interest rates on loans. According to the World Bank's website, the IDA works with a large network of global, regional, and local partners to reach poorest people and deliver sustainable results. Gonsalves, speaking on the state-owned NBC radio, said that he would write to the leader of every country in the world, as the Washington-based financial institution suggested last week that the interest rates paid by more developed Caribbean countries move from between 1 and 2% to between 3.3 and 6.8%. Further, the repayment period for loans will move from 50 years to between 30 and 35 years. And finally tonight, international news. According to the BBC, the Princess of Wales has announced that she's in the early stages of treatment after a cancer diagnosis. In a video statement, Catherine says, "It was a huge shock after an incredibly tough couple of months. But she sent a positive message saying that she's well and getting stronger every day. Details of the cancer have not been disclosed, but Kensington Palace says it is confident that the princess will make a full recovery. The princess' statement explains that when she had an abdominal surgery in January, it was not known that there was any cancer. However, a number of tests conducted after the operation found cancer had been present. The chemotherapy treatment began in late February. The palace says it will not be sharing any further private medical information, including the type of cancer. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.